Welcome back, children. So coming to today's class in wave optics, we will be discussing about interference of light. See, as I've already told you, in wave optics we'll be studying in detail about interference, diffraction and polarization. So in today's class we will start with the concept of interference. Okay, and in interference we have two cases. You can obtain interference by division of wavefront . Okay, or by division of amplitude. Okay, again we are classifying this into two types: interference by division of wavefront and interference by division of amplitude. Okay, Young's double slit experiment is an example of studying interference by division of wavefront. Whereas the colors that you observe on thin films, okay, a thin layer of oil, if it is on the surface of water, you observe colored patterns. That is an example of interference by division of wavefront. Okay, we will be studying both of them in case of interference. But before that, let us first start with how do we define this term interference. Okay, it's a wave phenomenon. So interference is generally defined as it is the modification of intensity by superimposition of two waves. Okay, I repeat the definition. Interference is defined as modification of intensity of light when two waves are superimposed on each other. Okay, so the complete change in intensity what we observe by means of superimposition. But if you want to observe a sustained interference, we need the two sources to be coherent. What should be the nature of the two sources? The sources that you use must be coherent sources to observe a clear and sustained interference. And for getting a coherent source, we have different methods. Okay, you can get a coherent source. First, look at how do we define a coherent source. A source is said to be coherent, or two sources are said to be coherent if they have same frequency or wavelength and they maintain a constant phase difference. Okay, how do we define this coherent sources? Two sources are said to be coherent provided they have the same frequency or same wavelength. Second condition, they should maintain a constant phase difference. So first the question is, how do we get this coherent sources? Okay, once you get the coherent sources, then we can study more about interference. So for getting a coherent source, we have so many methods of getting a coherent source. So one such method which was explained by Young's double slit experiment is, take a monochromatic source of light and allow it to pass through two slits, S1 and S2. Okay, so this is an actual source of light. If you allow it to pass through a cardboard containing two closely spaced pinholes, then the wavefront emerging from this and the wavefront emerging from this will interfere with each other. Say this is a region of interference. So when you keep a screen far away from the slits, you can observe alternate dark and bright bands on the screen. So this is by experimental observation you can see the interference pattern. This is an example for interference by division of wavefront. So if you want to observe interference by division of wavefront, it is only possible by making some experimental arrangements. So how do we get the coherent source? Take a point source of light, a monochromatic source which has a single wavelength, allow it to pass through two slits which are separated by a certain distance. Then you can observe interference pattern. What is the interference pattern? Alternate dark and bright regions on a screen which is placed at a distance capital D. This phenomenon is nothing but called as interference. There are two more methods to obtain coherent sources. Okay, by making use of Fresnel's biprism. Now look at other means of getting a coherent sources. You can get coherent sources by making use of Fresnel's biprism. Okay, look at the construction. It will have, you have a thin prism. Okay, so this is a glass prism. Here is your screen. We keep a point source of light at this particular position. Okay, the waves which are coming from this source will pass through the upper part of prism and bend. Then if I extend this rays backward, this will behave as a virtual source S1. Similarly, from the lower part of the prism, the rays bend, and when I extend them backward, this will behave as S2. So from the same source, we have got two virtual sources S1 and S2, which are of same wavelength or frequency, and they maintain a constant phase difference. So this is the second method for obtaining a coherent source. Now look at the third method, that is by making use of a prism. We call it as Lloyd's biprism or Lloyd's mirror. Okay, here we take a plain mirror. Okay, here is your screen, and this is a point source of light. So a ray which is coming from S will reach the point P. Another ray which is reflected from the surface of the mirror reaches the point P. So these two waves, when they superimpose, will give you interference pattern. So if I extend it back, this will behave as a virtual source S dash. So from the same source, we have S and S dash. These two sources can produce interference. But remember, whenever reflection occurs from the surface of a denser medium, there is a phase shift of lambda by 2, a path difference of lambda by 2, or a phase difference of 180 degrees is observed. So this we will study in detail later, but these are the methods for obtaining a coherent sources. So we generally prefer the first one. Okay, from a single source, if you allow the light to pass through two slits, that will give you two coherent sources. If sources are coherent, interference would be a sustained interference. Now theoretically, let us try to explain why are we getting dark and bright regions on the screen during this interference pattern. Okay, so let us start with the theoretical explanation for interference. Okay, look at the two coherent sources. I will consider two waves, Y1 whose amplitude is A1 sin omega t. Another source Y2 is equal to A2 sin omega t plus phi. Look at the two sources. They have the same frequency. Amplitudes may be different. Frequency is same. They differ by a constant phase difference. So we can call them as coherent sources. Just now I told you superimposition of coherent sources can give you interference. So superimpose them. What should be the resultant intensity according to principle of superimposition? Y is equal to Y1 plus what? Add both of them. A1 sin omega t plus A2 sin omega t plus phi. Okay, we know sin of A plus B can be written as sin A cos B plus cos A sin B. This is A1 sin omega t plus A2 sin omega t cos phi plus A2 cos omega t sin phi. Okay, we are interested in finding out what is the resultant intensity and when will it be maximum and minimum theoretically first. So from these two relations, I can take out sin omega t common. We are left with A1 plus A2 cos phi. So here write cos omega t outside, A2 sin phi. Okay, I am going to make some substitutions here. Let A1 plus A2 cos phi be A cos theta. Similarly, instead of A2 sin phi, I will write it as A sin theta. So when you make these two substitutions in this relation, what will be your resultant wave? A is equal to sin omega t, A cos theta. So A sin omega t cos theta plus A cos omega t sin theta. Observe this relation. Can I write it as A sine omega t plus theta? So the superimposition of two waves is again sinusoidally varying with time, but with a new amplitude, that is capital A. So we are interested in finding what is the resultant amplitude. So let us see how to calculate the value of A from our two substitutions. One is A cos theta and the other one is A sin theta. Look at how to find out the resultant amplitude. I will call this as equation 1 and 2. So A1 and A2 are the amplitude of the two superimposing coherent sources. We want to find out what is the resultant amplitude. So square and add these two equations. A square cos square theta plus A square sin square theta. Okay, equation 1 square plus 2 square. You will get A square equal to A1 plus A2 cos phi whole square plus A2 sin phi whole square. Simplify this by opening the bracket. This will be A1 square plus A2 square cos square phi plus 2A1 A2 cos phi plus A2 square sin square phi. Okay, so in these two terms, if you take out A2 square common, sin square phi plus cos square phi will anyway become 1. So what is your resultant amplitude square? A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos phi, or A is equal to under root A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos phi. See, is it the superimposition of two waves giving you the formula for the resultant amplitude? It is just like this parallelogram of vector addition. Okay, you can get the answer for the resultant amplitude by A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos phi under a root. And we know already that square of amplitude is proportional to intensity. Okay, since intensity is proportional to square of amplitude, you can write this formula in terms of intensity. So what is your resultant intensity? If I square this relation, A square is proportional to I will get the resultant intensity as I1 plus I2 2 root I1 I2 into cos phi. This is your formula for resultant amplitude, expression for resultant intensity. So by making use of two coherent sources, we have got the condition for resultant amplitude and intensity. Now let us see, when will this amplitude and intensity be maximum? Okay, so this condition we call it as condition for constructive interference. See, I told you already on the screen we are observing alternate bright and dark regions. So when the point is bright, we call it as constructive interference, amplitude becomes maximum. If the intensity is dark, that means if you get a dark spot, then it is for destructive interference. So let's look into detail. What are the conditions for constructive and destructive interference? Look at the conditions for constructive and destructive interference. Before that, I will write the resultant amplitude here. What is your resultant amplitude? A1 square plus A2 square 2A1 A2 cos phi under root, and resultant intensity I1 plus I2 2 root I1 I2 into cos phi. Okay, observe the conditions for constructive interference. Case 1 I will call it. For constructive interference, case 1, if interference is constructive, when do you call the interference constructive? Amplitude should be maximum. When will this amplitude become maximum? It depends on cos phi. Okay, the value of cos phi should be maximum. That is plus 1. We know cos theta will be equal to 1 when phi is equal to 0, 2 pi, 4 pi. So generalize this condition. Phase difference between two waves, if it is integral multiple of 2n pi or integral multiple of 2 pi. This is the condition for constructive interference. This is the condition for phase difference. Phase difference should be 2n pi. Then how can we write the path difference? Okay, hope you remember the relation between phase difference and path difference when we studied wave. What is the relation between phase difference and path difference? Phase difference is 2 pi by lambda into path difference. Calculate what should be the path difference for a constructive interference to occur. We know phase difference is 2n pi. So 2n pi should be 2 pi by lambda into path difference, delta x. Implies, okay, tell me what should delta x or path difference be? N times of lambda. So if the path difference between two interfering waves is an integral multiple of lambda, it will lead to constructive interference, and in constructive interference we get a bright fringe or a bright spot. Now what is the resultant amplitude? If cos phi becomes 1, maximum amplitude will be a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 under root. I can write it as a1 plus a2 whole square. That is nothing but a1 plus a2. Similarly, I can write maximum intensity as, okay, we know a1 plus a2. I can write it as root I1 plus root I2 whole square. So maximum amplitude will be sum of the amplitude of the two waves. Maximum intensity will be root I1 plus root I2 whole square. Because square of amplitude is proportional to intensity, I have written the maximum intensity, maximum amplitude, condition for path difference as well as for phase difference. So please remember these four conditions for solving numericals. Maximum amplitude, maximum intensity, phase difference and path difference. So these are the four conditions to get which type of interference? Constructive interference. Constructive interference leads to a bright fringe. Now let's look into destructive interference. Conditions for case 2. When interference is destructive, amplitude should be minimum. When will amplitude be minimum? When cos phi is minimum, that is -1. Okay, we know cos theta takes -1 minus 1 for phi is equal to 180 degrees, 3 pi, 5 pi and so on. Okay, now I am going to generalize and write it. See, is it an integral even multiple of pi or odd multiple of pi? Okay, it is an odd multiple of pi. So therefore, we can generalize and write the condition for phase difference. For destructive interference, okay, the phase difference phi should be, okay, odd multiple. I will write it as 2n minus 1 times of pi. Okay, where n takes values from 1, 2, 3 and so on. So once you get the phase difference, calculate the path difference. What should be the path difference? Just now I told you what is the relation between phase difference and path difference. Phase difference is 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So write this as 2n minus 1 pi. 2n minus 1 pi is 2 pi by lambda into delta x. Implies delta x. Okay, I will write it here. Delta x should be 2n minus 1. Okay, pi will anyway get cancelled. What is the condition for path difference for destructive interference? Path difference should be 2n minus 1 lambda divided by 2. So this is the condition for destructive interference to occur. Phase difference should be odd multiple of pi. Path difference should be 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. Remember, n starts or takes its values from 1, 2, 3 and so on. So once you get this, I can find out what is the minimum amplitude. So put cos phi as equal to -1. Then minimum amplitude will be mod of a1 minus a2. And similarly, minimum intensity is root I1 minus root I2 whole square. So this formula gives me the minimum intensity, minimum amplitude, path difference and phase difference. So remember these 4 conditions when you are solving numericals, it will be helpful. So this is all the theoretical way of explaining interference pattern.